So, today is 6th January 2025, and this is the Hindu. So, let us see first the highlights. Okay, so not much important advertisement are there. Now there is a highlight. So, Trump asserts India cut Russian oil to please him. Okay, so Trump is saying that India has to cut Russian oil so that India can make Trump happy. Okay, now SC denies will to Umar Khalid, Sharjeel Imam for Delhi riots. Okay, in the case of the alleged masterminds, namely Sharjeel Imam and Umar Khalid, the prosecution material comprises direct, corroborative, and contemporaneous evidence, where evidentiary strength varies materially between accused person and the need for continued detention. Likewise, okay. Maduro plead not guilty, says he is still president of his country. So this is the Maduro US law enforcement officer more traffic and represent. I say laws top process. So these are none of the importance. Let us just go to the editorial page. So yeah, Indian aviation safety is a dangerous credibility deficit. So it is written by airline instructor pilot farmer. What does the Shanti will change? So we'll discuss about the Shanti will because it is important for us. What remote sensing reveals about plants, forests, and minerals from space? Okay. So, so these and this we are going to cover. What does the Shanti bill change? How open is India's nuclear sector now? What role will private firms play? What powers does the AERB now have? How self-reliant is India's nuclear program? How has nuclear liability changed? Why is opposition opposing Shanti? So all of them we are going to discuss here. So let us see the story. Okay, for that we need to zoom it a little bit. Let me zoom it. Yes, now I think it is now far more clear than earlier. Okay, so yes, so the story so far. Parliament has cleared the sustainable harnessing and advantage of nuclear energy bill, despite opposition demands for amendments and review by a select committee. You remember in last time also this was Shanti bill was in discussion. We have discussed comprehensively about the Shanti bill. Okay, so it was came in. I don't remember whether it was the Hindu or the yes, the Hindu has covered this. Okay, so we have also so it was came on 18th of December. Okay, the name was the Shanti bill. Okay, so the bill enables private companies to run nuclear power plants and foreign investment into the sector, respectively. So these we have done. So what is the full form of Shanti Bill? So Shanti stands for sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy for transforming India. I'm repeating again, sustainable harnessing and advancement of nuclear energy in India Shanti Bill, despite opposition demands for amendments and review by a select committee. To achieve India's energy security needs, government has boosted the nuclear energy mission with 20,000 crore dedicated to small modular reactors, advanced pressurized water reactors, India's nuclear power sector has remained state-controlled and unchanged since 1956. Since 1956, okay. Please remember, India's nuclear power sector has remained state-controlled and unchanged since 1956. The private and foreign partnership has been restricted under earlier laws, the Atomic Energy Act 1962, the Civil Liability for Nuclear Damages Act 2010. Private foreign companies avoided India due to its strict liability laws. What is the Shanti Bill? The Shanti Bill is an overarching legislation that opens India's nuclear power sector to private and foreign participation, which was earlier entirely state controlled and deeply regulated. Under the bill, private Indian companies can seek licenses to own, build, and operate nuclear power plants. Uh, it is open for foreign supplier participation. It is also open for foreign supplier participation. The Shanti will allows up to 49% of private participation while maintaining 51% government control over sensitive activities such as nuclear fuel production, heavy water manufacturing, radioactive waste management, safety mechanisms, licensing, and strategic oversight. The bill ends the monopoly of Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited and PCI in plant operations. Okay, it allows private companies what it did, it allows companies as joint ventures to build on and operate nuclear power plants. The private sector will be involved in fuel fabrication, equipment manufacturing, plant operations, and research and deployment. Sorry, it will essentially be a public-private partnership that attracting private capital with government oversight. The bill facilitates advanced nuclear technology by enabling private participation and regulatory clarity. It supports the deployment of small modular reactors and indigenous reactor designs, contributing to the clean energy transition and long-term energy security. What is the role of AERB? The Atomic Energy Regulatory Board (AERB), constituted in 1983 under the Atomic Energy Act, has now been given the statutory status, and is answerable to the Parliament rather than solely to the executive. The Atomic Energy Regulatory Board is radiation, responsible for ensuring nuclear safety, radiation protection, emergency preparedness, and quality uh, assurance across civilian nuclear installations. It issues safety measures, licenses, and standards, administers industrial safety provisions of the Factories Act 1946 46 for the use under the Department of Atomic Energy as per Section 23 of the Atomic Energy Act. Conducts inspections to prevent radiation hazards. It plays a crucial role in extending regulatory oversight under the Shanti Bill due to increased private sector participation. However, the bill has been criticized for concentrating power in one institution. What safeguards are in place? The bill does not explicitly permit foreign direct investment in the nuclear power sector. The private companies will have to seek authorization from the AERB. Authorizations are required for setting up a plant, range from production, possession to disposal of radioactive material and radiation generation equipment, as well as for establishing, operating, or withdrawing radioactive facilities. The government controls the reprocessing and management of spent fuel and high-level radioactive active waste, production and upgradation of heavy water enrichment and isotopic separation of radioactive substances. The law also provides for the establishment of a nuclear liability fund to meet the compensation needs in case of nuclear accidents. What has changed with respect to the liability compared to the earlier regime? The Shanti Institute at the aspect is transparent and predictable for operators. Liability caps are fixed as follows: 30,000 crore for large plants of 3,300 megawatt capacity, 15 crore for medium plants of 15 to 100 to 3,600 megawatt, and 100 crore for small modular reactors of 150 megawatt capacity. Penalties for legal violations in cases of severe breach are capped at 1 crore. 1 crore. The union government will bear the liability beyond the operator's cap. with additional support from the proposed nuclear liability fund. Earlier, operators could hold suppliers liable for defective parts, faulty equipment, design inefficiency, and deliberate acts causing damage. The current will remove supplier accountability completely. What is government's viewpoint? The center aims to strengthen India's energy security by diversifying the power mix, reducing dependence on fossil fuels and fuel imports, and expanding atomic energy capacity. Energy security is one of the main aims for boosting India's development index. It ensures 24 into 7 base load power uh, as compared to solar energy and wind energy, which are subject to geographical conditions. It will be a boost for the energy sector, which is still heavily dependent on coal. It also ensures an enhancement for technology and the economy. Nuclear power ensures clean energy with low carbon emissions. It facilitates achieving India's net zero targets no, for 2030. The bill may also revive the stalled civil nuclear deals with the US, France, and Japan, reduce dependence on Russia alone, and, and enhance India's image as a responsible global nuclear player. Why does India need nuclear energy? India struggles with solar, wind, and hydro energy due to its geographical and climate variables, and still majorly relies on coal for electricity generation. Storages and grid integration costs for renewables remain high. Thus, having sufficient baseload generation capacity is mandatory for an affordable and unrestricted supply. So, why does India need nuclear energy? Because of the fact that India struggles with solar, wind, and hydropower due to its geographical and climate variables, and that is why it is still majorly relies on coal for electricity generation, storage and grid integration cost for renewables, and also the storage and if you integrate the grid for the renewables, that cost you very high. So that is why having sufficient baseload capacity is mandatory for an affordable and unrestricted supply. In order to achieve energy security for growing economy, to achieve energy security for growing, India has to strengthen and expand its nuclear energy sector. Moreover, the electricity mix must have enough baseload generation capacity in order to make it affordable and reliable for consumers. Nuclear power plants are one of the most effective in ensuring this. Okay, so that is the reason. What is India's nuclear energy mission? What is India's nuclear energy mission? So India has largely indigenous and nuclear power program based on fuel cycle that aims to utilize India's vast thorium reserve. Currently, India manages 25 nuclear reactors in 21 pressurized heavy water reactors, and 4 light water reactors, all managed by NPCIA. According to, just let me increase the brightness. Yes. According to R.B. Grover, a distinguished professor emeritus at the Homi Bhabha National Institute and member of the Atomic Energy Commission, as India does not have enough uranium, the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited has mastered the design and operation of pressurized heavy water reactors. The Bhabha Atomic Research Center has developed technologies to uh, to reprocess reprocess spent fuel to recover valuable materials and handle nuclear waste. In that sense, India is independent and self-sufficient in its nuclear power generation. India has operationalized the fast breeder or reactor for thorium use. Has operationalized fast breeder reactor for thorium use. Why has the opposition strongly criticized the bill? The opposition argues that the bill dilutes accountability by allowing profit driven private participation while placing liability on the state and society. There is a fear of repeating incidents like the Bhopal gas strategy, where accountability and remuneration were evaded by the foreign firms in spite of resource to civil courts. Moreover, such resource is unavailable according to the new law. remove supplier liability and capping operator liability and penalties at a nominal cost as compared to the actual volume and expense of damages is considered unreasonable. The polluter pays principle has been undermined, and this compromises public safety. Private firms have no liability for accident cost, public safety issues, and long-term risk. The cap on operator liability does not change in 15 years despite inflation or long-term assessment of health, environment, livelihood cost of any accident. The cases such as Fukushima and Chernobyl point out the huge expense of liability. In the case of Fukushima disaster, the actual civil damages were 700 times more than the cap proposed by the Shanti Bill. Section 39 of Bill seeks to override the RTI Act of 2005. It has raised several concerns as it seeks to remove public interest review and public appeal mechanisms. This will make the most crucial nuclear sector related information, including plant details, operations mechanisms, regulatory submissions, and data on nuclear materials restricted. This dilutes the transparency and questions the public accountability of the proposed system. The RTI 2005, in its wisdom, already exempts revealing information regarding India's security, national interest, commercial and personal data. But these exemptions are subject to justification in cases of public accountability and public interest. Section 42 overrides operation safety, health, and working conditions for nuclear facilities. And nuclear workers are removed from the country's general labor safety framework. This has triggered opposition from 10 central trade unions, including the Samyukta Kisan Morcha and National Coordination Committee of Electricity Employees and Engineers, who have termed the bill draconian. The opposition insists that the bill is vendor driven despite India's self reliance in nuclear technology. It argues that India has deep thorium reserves around which nuclear reactors were built, which should be utilized. The opposition demands that the private companies be compelled to install India's technology. The bill lacks provision for mandatory public hearing, environmental impact assessment disclosure, community consent mechanism, regular public reporting of safety inspections, or parliamentary scrutiny. The opposition also cited the example of France, where all nuclear reactors are under government control. The bill is criticized for being pro-profit, pro-oligarch, catering to the crony capitalist while gambling with public safety. So this is all about the Shanti bill. Okay, just to summarize, let's see again. So the full form of Shanti bill is the sustainable harnessing and advancement of the nuclear energy in India. Shanti bill. Okay, so it is done to ensure that India will have energy security. Okay, it opens. What are the provisions of the Shanti bill? So it opens India's nuclear power sector to private and foreign participation. Okay, private and the foreign participation. Next, private Indian companies can seek licenses to own, build, and operate nuclear power plants. It also open for foreign supplier participation, allows 49% private participation while maintaining 51% control over sensitive activities such as nuclear fuel production, heavy water manufacturing, radioactive waste management, and safety mechanism, licensing, and strategic oversight. Or the bill also ends the monopoly of the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited and PCIL in plant operation. It allows private companies and joint ventures to build, own, and operate nuclear power plants. The private sector will be involved in fuel fabrication, equipment manufacturing, plant operations, and research and development. It will be called essentially called public-private partnership.